Here's the thing about being told your zipper's down. Logically, you appreciate that information, but emotionally, you're spiraling. You're thinking about how many people saw it, how long has it been down, who saw it, and for me, what kind of underwear was I wearing? This is very uncomfortable, just like receiving feedback is uncomfortable. Receiving feedback feels a bit like being told your zipper's down. You're hurt, you're embarrassed, and for a brief moment, you might even be mad at the person who gave you the message. Because for that brief moment, that person caused you to feel all the feels. And that doesn't feel good. Let's be honest, you might have been mad at that person, but they have absolutely nothing to do with your zipper. Receiving feedback is difficult because of all of the emotions that go along with it. And this is true in the workplace and even at home. How many of you can relate to the story, show of hands here, where you've got someone in your family or maybe a former roommate who, when they were finished with a meal, they could take their dishes and put them in the sink or next to the dishwasher, but they never quite got into the dishwasher. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, saw a bunch of hands go up. That's really hard because it's a frustrating thing for you. And those dishes are right there. I mean, they're so close to the dishwasher, they could almost hop in themselves. And you've given that feedback hundreds of times and still no change. Why? It's easy to hear the feedback, but it's not always easy to receive it. And so we're going to talk today about how is it that we learn to receive a message so that we can do something with it. Feedback is emotional. We get all caught up in it and we build our defenses up, we protect ourselves, we put a shield up, we tell ourselves things that maybe don't exist. And the very words that we're being given might actually be very, very helpful to us. They might be the words that help us grow. They might be the words that help us change. We'll become stronger, better, and maybe even more compatible as a teammate or in relationships. So learning to receive feedback can be very, very important to a team, to a person, to a family. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the 4 R's of receiving feedback. And the first of those 4 R's is ready. And what we're doing today, right now, is getting ready. Because the moment you receive critical feedback, it's far too late to figure out how you're going to handle that. You're in the middle of it. You're in the throes of it. The feelings have already been exposed. So you need to think about in advance how to get ready for tough feedback. I know about this myself because I've been through it before, and I've had some difficult situations where I didn't handle it very well, and times where I have handled it very well. And I've been on my own personal journey about learning to receive feedback well so that I can make the appropriate changes to be better. Nobody likes getting feedback. Even though I've been on a journey for a long time, it still doesn't feel good to me either. But I know it's important to hear it. And so when my 2 young adult daughters will sit down with me and say, "Hey, Mom, you know you like to talk about feedback, right?" I know it's coming, and it's not going to feel good. But I do appreciate it. I want those growth opportunities. I want to hear it. And so I believe that information is power. I want to tell you a story. It's a story that I'm not really proud of, but it was a huge awareness for me, and I really, really appreciate that. We were having a very large party at our house. A party that was so big that 2 hours before, several family members were coming ahead of time to help us get ready. and my niece walked through the front door with a friend. And I started thinking, friend? Is she here to help? Or is she a guest? Do I give her a beverage? Or should I hand her a broom? I didn't know what to do. And as I was thinking about all of this and the decisions that were running through my head very quickly, they were also apparently very noticeable on my face. I call it my pondering face. Later on, my 2 daughters approached me and they said, "Hey, Mom, you know when she walked through the door with her friend?" And I said, "Yeah." They said, "Boy, did you have a serious RBF." I looked at my girls and I said, "What's an RBF?" And they explained that I had a very stern look on my face, and I was mortified. I had no idea. By the way, I do know what RBF is now. That was about 15 years ago, so just to make it clear, I am cool. I just wasn't back then. So that RBF message really helped me learn something about myself, and I call it my pondering face. My pondering face is one where I know I'm thinking pretty heavily, and I probably am coming across as stern, not warm, not friendly, not welcoming, things that I wouldn't be proud of as a leader. It's not a leadership face. And having that information become available to me and being aware of myself and my body language has given me power. And I think that's really awesome, because now I'm more in control of situations when I might be receiving feedback. Being ready to receive feedback means you know what to do. You know what your triggers are. You know how to handle yourself. You have to understand what gets in the way. And so think about the hurdles, and they're different for all of us. So I'm going to mention a few of them, but they may not be the ones that are yours. So think about yours. The first one is defensive. Do you get defensive when somebody's giving you hard feedback? Now, here's the thing about being defensive. Most people who are defensive don't even know it. So ask yourself, but be really honest with yourself. Are you a person who's defensive? Maybe you even want to ask a friend. They might be able to help you understand. Maybe you're someone who's in denial. When my niece came through the door, if I had had a reaction when my daughters told me this information, I might have said, "No, I didn't." That would have been denial. Defensive might have sounded like, "Well, she shouldn't have brought a friend anyway." Luckily, I didn't have either of those responses. And there's many, many more. Are you coachable? Organizations, leaders, they like people who are coachable. I don't know if any of you watch a TV show called The Voice. It's one of my favorites, but a team is being whittled down so one future star at the end will be receiving the most coaching from their coach and hopefully, have a career in music after. And sometimes when those coaches let their people go, they'll say, "Oh, it's so hard to see them go. They were so coachable." Are you coachable? That's something to ask yourself when it comes to receiving feedback. Whatever barriers might be in your way are definitely worth exploring, because if you push them to the side and figure out how to overcome them, you will be a much stronger person, employee, and relationship individual. I want to tell you about Bob. Bob works at a company on a team. And Bob has this new behavior where he has started taking other people's ideas for his own. And of course, that's getting very frustrating for the people on Bob's team. They have begun to talk about Bob. They have begun to go to lunch without Bob. And Bob is being excluded. The team is eroding, relationships are falling, and productivity is down. And yet nobody will tell Bob what's going on. Why not? Feedback is hard. Maybe somebody says, "Well, it didn't happen to me, so I'm not going to be the one." Maybe Bob is really good friends with the boss, and that makes it a little scary to give feedback. It's awkward. Why would I want to put myself in an awkward position? Or maybe Bob is someone who just doesn't receive feedback well, and as a result, everyone's afraid to share the information. Although I am certain that Bob would rather be talked to than about. And I am certain that Bob would rather be included than excluded. Bob really needs that feedback. Somebody needs to find the courage to share. It might be easier to give feedback to Bob if Bob was the kind of individual who made it easier to give people feedback. How about you? Are you an easy person to share feedback with? Do you look at it as an opportunity for growth? Receiving feedback well helps you create trust on your team, creates personal and professional growth, and it helps you build stronger relationships. Maybe you need to change the story. The way I look at it is that if a person is giving me difficult feedback, they've thought long and hard about how to share that information. They really care about me if they're taking the time to give that information. For me, feedback is information, and information is power. Maybe you could tell yourself that story also. The worst thing you can do when someone tells you your zipper's down is argue with them. Receive that feedback. Feedback is a gift. How you choose to unwrap it is up to you. Thank you.